Here we go. One more time. Oh, here we are. Welcome back to Crooked Spine Show. I'm here with Dr. Jeremy and John. We're going to discuss exactly how to stay healthy physically and mentally without your doctor. Okay. It is 2025 January. Most Americans find out their pocket out of cost for healthcare getting more and more expensive, and they experience poor healthcare when they see their doctor, including an endless supply of medications that have short and long-term side effects. Alternative and Eastern medicine can help you, but also how do you figure out which ones really work? Today's talk with John Gusty and Dr. Jeremy helps understand how we get there, and how we can personally take care of our health outside of Western medical healthcare system. Okay, so John, starting with you two, what was interest and made you passionate about getting into healthcare, understanding the back end, how to get people healthy?
All right. Well, what sparked my interest was I have lifelong just professional and personal experience in the music and entertainment industry. So I'm very, very well versed in marketing and all of that from an entertainment industry perspective. So I understand dangling a carrot, and like I think we were talking off camera, marketing is just manipulation. So I was very, very well versed in how people are manipulated into consuming entertainment content. Also in the music industry, I met this lovely woman who has now been my wife of 20 plus years. And at the time she was walking with a cane because she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And we could probably spend 3 hours talking on the word diagnose. Just that word alone is a huge topic. But I, a fairly healthy person my entire life, never really interfaced with the medical industrial complex at all until my wife's problems became my problems. And I'm a bit more of a question asker and a digger than she is. And so I started going to her appointments with her, and I quickly, I was blown away by just the way the medical industrial complex operates. Everything from when you ask questions, a lot of times you are minimized or whatever. But more than anything else, I was kind of blown away by how our health and wellness might be the most precious response and important responsibility we as humans have. I mean, is there anything more important than keeping ourselves healthy and well? And I had never really thought of it this way until I took on my wife's problems as my own, but I'm just been blown away by how many of us offload that responsibility to a third party. And that third party always ends up being commercial corporate government. And, people, I think more people than not, when you say healthcare, what they mean by healthcare is their access to corporate commercial government stuff, be it pharmaceuticals, be it professionals, be it surgical stuff, be it the facilities. And I just have noticed throughout the years that medical industrial complex can't claim very many. We always hear about how all these advances in modern medicine. Well, if that medical industrial complex, and it's not just here in the U.S., it's worldwide, if they are so advanced, how come all of the problems that plague humanity, obesity, respiratory issues, heart issues, how come none of those things ever get any better? In fact, they just get worse. And so I'm a bit of a punk rock anarchist kind of guy. I've never offloaded any of my personal responsibilities to a third party. So I'm kind of a, take it on myself sort of person. And so I've always done that. I've done it for my wife, and we just, if you look around, I think nature is probably one of the best teachers. If you look around, trees know how to take care of themselves. Animals know how to take care of themselves.
Squirrels, please, easy. They survive.
My good buddy Jeremy has a great little saying that I love very much to advance, and it's we humans are the only creatures on Earth that don't instinctively know what to eat. And I think a lot of it does come down to health and wellness. So what got me fascinated by all of this was my wife's situation, and then looking around and watching how many people offload that responsibility of health and wellness to a corporate structure.
And I think a lot of this too is like you're saying, is we feel we leave we're in the US at least, we're told they are the all knowing, they know more than we ever will, so let them guide us. The problem is, as you know, people let them guide us, then they get us more sick. They cause more injuries, more side effects, long term, short term. Then they go, well, we're done. Good luck on your own for 1, 2. You go, no, what do you do? So I think both you and Dr. Jeremy have given people another option to get healthy. And Dr. Jeremy, too, yourself also. Why did you get into this field to get people better without your doctor?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'll do as quickly as possible, knowing the length of the show. But I actually started off in a building family and was trained as a carpenter and joiner. My brother was the bricklayer and mason, and my dad was a former engineer that got made redundant, which is why he went into building, and a very honest and decent builder and man he was. And that's how I was raised. And at the age of 12, my brother's wife's mother was diagnosed with breast cancer and went on to die. And at the time, I would argue it was a treatment that killed her now. But at the time, it really was the first time that the big C came into my family circle and awareness. And I saw the anger, the grief, all the negative and fear going forward. And at 12 years old, very innocently, I just thought, well, this has got to be fixed. And then pretty much forgot about it until my 20s, where I was in an Olympic in the Olympic training squad for canoeing in Great Britain, and an athlete and 21 and arrogant and knew everything, right? And you only get to 30 and realize you knew nothing. But
yep.
And I hurt my back very badly the year I was meant to go to the games and didn't manage to get to the games. And I never liked doctors, and I think a lot of people are like that. Doctors, surgeries, hospitals, repellent to me. It just felt so alien. So I didn't want to go to a doctor, and I didn't know what an osteopath or a chiropractor was. But an osteopath was on the squad helping us, and he said, why don't you come and see me? So I took a long journey to go see him, and he put me in front of a very gruff Eastern European woman with bigger muscles and more facial hair than me, who then massaged me into tears. And of course, I'm English. We don't complain. We just write a letter the next day, expressing our. But anyway, before I knew it, this chap came in and put me in this very odd position. I thought he was going to try some sort of sexual move. Cracked my back, and the pain was gone. That was it. That was my entry into I've got to do this. And as I came into that, all those memories came back. And I, again, quite naively, I was like, well, not only do I want to take away pain, and I think that's what you do, Tony. It's a real bath to this day, But I just wanted, very naively at the time, to be able to heal everything. And what I didn't realize when I started my research, which has been now over 30 years, and I've had some wonderful mentors, that it would lead me further and further and further away from my own profession, because we were all actually put in boxes over 100 years ago, ever smaller boxes, to stop us from practicing how the great forefathers of this knowledge that I think you and I and many have researched and rekindled. And so it's given us the tools to be able to describe what dis-ease really is, and that's where the word comes from. And start to educate. Doctor means teacher originally, to teach people where they've gone wrong and start to correct it. And when you introduced the show, I kind of laughed because, apart from accidents, broken legs and bleeding and that sort of physical trauma, and then if you get a good trauma team, and then they should hand them back to people like us, the worst place to go is a doctor's surgery or hospital in my 30 years of experience. And if you doubt that, if you're listening and not one of the choir and you're just new to this show, ask yourself, anywhere in the world in the last 50 years have people become sicker or healthier in your country? I've never had anybody say healthier, much, much sicker. And so the old adage of journalism is follow the money. It's a business. 66% of all bankruptcies in America are from health care bills, and of course it's not. It's a business, and it's a big one.
It's amazing how people are starting to understand more of that, especially after the pandemic, is we're not getting the healthcare we deserve. And we're paying.
Pandemic?
What's that?
Because what I witnessed was a manipulation of data to create the presumption of a pandemic that has caused immense harm. But I sorry to interrupt you.
Well, no problem. But in the U.S., especially Southern California, more of my patients were delayed treatment, were delayed even access to their doctor. They're like, okay, I have to go see somebody. My health isn't getting better. So it almost pushed them to now realize I have to take care of my own health because my doctor, my insurance company is no longer doing it for me. So it's common to push people that way. But people that are not pushed, they still need an idea of, okay, what else can I do? And I'll give you a mention too, as put in the show notes also, we are the most, in the US, we're USA, most powerful, richest nation in the world, but we still have the most sickest nation in the world too. And how do we get over that for one also? Going into it, what is Eastern medicine so people understand that versus our Western medicine in the US for one? And how does that help along with homeopathic medicine if you want to either cooperate or go against the medical mainstream?
Well, okay, you go first, John.
Well, I was just going to say, a lot of these things are word games, and we hear the term medicine and we instantly think, doctors and hospitals.
There's only one, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I use the term medical industrial complex, because the medical industrial complex only has 3 tools in their tool belt. They're going to drug you, they're going to cut you, or they're going to burn you. Drug you through pharmaceuticals, cut you through surgery, or burn you through radiation. That's all. You could go into any medical establishment anywhere with a sore thumb, anything. Mm-hmm. You go into anything, and their answer to your problem is going to involve one of those 3 things. At the very least, they're going to drug you. They're going to prescribe some pharmaceutical man-made substance. And another little nugget that Jeremy and I try to advance forward is the human body can never be deficient in a man-made chemical. It can't. There's so again, we just got to en masse got to get away from the fact that that medical industrial complex, like Jeremy said, is a business. That it is profit driven. It does not have the individual's health and wellness as its primary goal and objective. And so that's my purpose here is to try to get people out of that mindset that, oh, I'm not feeling well, so I have to turn to these this.
Let me tag team there. I think it's really fundamentally important that people, these shows have longevity. A year, 2 years from now, they may be listening to this very podcast for the first time. But I think it's very fundamentally important to understand that most doctors and nurses and pharmacists even, I believe, go in with good intentions. They just don't know what they're walking into. The system is a business and it's been designed that way. So let's look at diagnosis. In fact, diagnosis is 3 words: diagnosis. Di means 2, ag means not, and gnosis means to know. So it literally means 2 people not knowing what the hell's going on, which is very advantageous to the doctors, and it's very scary language. But the way the system is being controlled is that a doctor is required legally to come up with a label, a diagnosis. And if they're not, and if they don't go and do every test under the sun, they put themselves at personal risk, which very few men or women are willing to do. So they're already, cornered, even if they had the right intentions. Number 2, once they put that label into the system computers, you are only allowed to go a certain pathways. And if you deviate from that, again, you're in trouble. So it's a very captured market. The third thing also that I think is really important is that doctors and nurses and all these good people with good intentions, I'm sure, will often wave the baton of evidence-based medicine. And then I normally laugh and I'm seen as rude. The world thinks we're going off of evidence-based medicine. There's almost no evidence-based medicine or science going on. And when you talk to real scientists, they'll say, we've interviewed some great scientists, Zoe Harcum is one of them. There's probably about 5% real science going on. I'll give you just one example. Iodine is essential to the human body. Every cell has a receptor for iodine. And for 150 years, Lugal's iodine by Professor Lugal, which I use with pretty much all my clients, was a universal medicine. Every GP, every medical doctor had it. They even had a little poem to remember where to use it. They used it first. If it didn't work, they moved on to something else. The routine basic dosage was a teaspoon, which is 375 milligrams. Then Crick and Wolf did a study. I say study, I call it BS, bad science, right?
Yeah.
But they did a study in 64, 65, and they said minute amounts explode the thyroids of rats. Problem is, they didn't check the thyroids of rats. But that study, it's called the Cry-Wolf study. From that day forward, every doctor, every endocrinologist, every nurse has been taught minute amounts of iodine will destroy the thyroid, and it couldn't be further from the truth. This is why when people with thyroid problems go to their doctor or an endocrinologist and say, I'm on iodine, they nearly lay an egg there in front of them in shock. The times I'm told about the face that is shown to them. And yet it's been a universal healer for 150 years. Now it's a universal poison. That's an example of BS. There's very little science. If we understand that, then we can start to see that you really are going into the wrong place, and their convictions are usually based in sand and not evidence.
Yeah, and I think like, again, word games. Science. There's a lot of people out there listening or watching to this that think that science is some group of people or a building somewhere or some sort of certification that you can get. Science is a discipline. Science is no different than fidelity or honesty, or it is a discipline. So if you are using scientific discipline, you are a scientist. We hear words like research. Well, you've got to be a researcher to do research. If you're researching, you're a researcher. If you're using the scientific discipline, you're a scientist. And so these words have been co-opted, and we've been mass manipulated to think that only a certain select group of people are scientists. Only a select group of people are researchers, and that's again, we got to break these mental constructs that so many of us have been. We've grown up here. It's just been we've been pelted with this our whole lives, and
it's almost like, okay, there's the science, I'll give you that, but what is the practicality? What's the experience when you work with patients? What results do you see? And they don't want to go over that. Sometimes they go, well, that's something separate. But they want to go, okay, what do we want to do initially? Here's what the book says versus how my patients are reacting. What results am I getting? And they want to kind of keep that blind eye. They just want to focus on people coming in the door, not how they come out the door.
Well, I think some of the best, a lot of times we or I think any of us that do any of this kind of work, you get asked by these skeptical people, whoa, what's the research behind it? You know what the best research is? Observational real life, period. If you can observe with your own eyes and ears, if you can observe, hey, we started here, we did A, B, and C, and the results are D, that's the best research you can possibly do, is observational real life. And I have found more often than not that when you are dealing with a medical industrial complex professional, they don't have a lot of observational real life research to cite or point you towards.
And going back to it too, this is called, if you want to call it, our Western medicine system. What is Eastern medicine or homeopathic medicine? How is that different?
Yeah, it's I like to think that I've brought the best of East and West together in the philosophy that I've brought forward. But the Easterns recognized the multiple, the plural causes. They recognized the mental, emotional, even spiritual aspects. Very simplistically, they saw all dis-ease, which really is where the word comes from, not as balance, not right, as stagnation. And so you can look at stagnation of, you're a chiropractor, right, Tony? Is that right? Right.
Yes.
So you can look at the stagnation of lymph or the stagnation of nerve flow or what have you, but they were also looking at the stagnation of emotions. If you get really upset, if a woman's left you or something, you can feel it in your stomach, or so these things are real. You can walk in a room and feel someone's had an argument, and it affects you, and conversely in a positive ways. So very simplistically, the Eastern philosophies recognized we were human beings, not human doings without a soul. They recognized that there were all levels of interplay, from the unseen and potentially unmeasurable all the way down to the physical and measurable. And they worked within the laws of this realm of nature, of day and of sunlight, of what we're meant to eat, of fasting, to move stagnation, as chiropractors and you and I know, physically releasing things to allow the movement to happen, and then expresses itself out of the body and then healing can occur. It's a beautiful thing.
It's amazing when people realize that type of medicine has been around for thousands of years, not 100 years.
Correct. That's why I laugh at modern medicine. It's the youngest, I don't even want to call it a profession, but it's the youngest business on the planet calling itself as medicine.
Yeah, and I think the big distinguishing thing is in one case, you know, I don't even like the Eastern Western. I don't like those terms. But if we use those terms, Western medicine is all profit driven, and everything else is knowledge and experience and perspective. And
you know, sorry to interrupt, John, but that is such a really important thing, because my first mentor really nailed this into me. Our job is to get rid of people in the nicest possible way. What I mean by that is that you don't need us. That's why doctors teach you. Okay. And whereas this model is how long can we keep you and how long can we milk you? Now, I know the good doctors and nurses are not looking at it that way, but that is what they've walked into.
It's almost when, for example, when someone gets put on diabetic medication, correct? I mean, type 2 diabetes, they're told you're taking this rest of your life. Not how do you change your lifestyle? What causes? What was the stressor? What can we do to change your diet? So now someone has to go outside their medical model, per se, as we say out here. At that point, now how do I figure out myself? So it's almost like it's giving enough information, but not trusting completely.
Well, and what we call Western medicine it's the only vertical that I'm aware of that isn't when a problem arises, they don't start with what caused the problem. They only go for the
thumb. What's going on the thumb?
Band-Aid type thing. It would be like taking. I know this is a silly analogy, but like, you know, we all have vehicles, right? And vehicles from time to time have issues. It would be like taking your vehicle that has an issue to the garage to get it fixed, and having the mechanic hand you back a rental car and go, there you go.
Yeah,
you've put a Band-Aid on the problem. You still drive away in a vehicle and you can still get around, but your original problem, your broke car, hasn't been addressed at all. And you know, we need. It would be nice if what we call Western medicine, started behaving more like auto mechanics or handymen. You know, those type of verticals are solution driven. You know, when you take your car to a mechanic, you want it fixed. You don't want a Band-Aid, you want it fixed.
To grab that analogy just a little bit further, you know, if you took your vehicle, which is your body, and the oil light's on, and the mechanic said, hey, I'll just take that light bulb out so that red light with the oil's not annoying you anymore. Having taken case histories of thousands of people and seeing that how they got worse and worse, but it changes, so they don't see the connection. But we all know what would happen if you keep driving your vehicle without putting oil in it, but you take that annoying, you know, oil light out that was annoying you. That's more of an accurate analogy. And so what we really do, what I think I like to call it, true doctors or even true therapists, whatever you're doing, they're always looking what's causing it. And I'm sure Dr. Tony's experienced this. You know, when you adjust people, there's often an emotional releaser, you know, held on trauma. I've seen lung cancer resolve when I've helped relieve grief from an 82-year-old Bayesian woman that used to be a preacher and was like a zombie with a lung cancer in her left lung. When we released the grief, the cancer healed in 2 weeks. And she went on to live another 2 or 3 years. So that's just an extreme example, but you would have seen it, Dr. Tony. You've adjusted, a release, an emotional blockage comes out. We are human beings, not soulless robots or automobiles.
It's almost giving someone a chance to go, what else is going on? What else is causing this pain? What else are you dealing with? Giving them that window versus the medical doctors, again, just to stereotyping them, they're on the clock, right? We have 5 minutes per patient, get people in and out. I don't have time to do the problems. Here's a referral to a psychologist. Go see them in about maybe 3 or 4 weeks.
So they can't get sued. This is the other thing. You know, holistic really means dealing with the whole human being, including considering their soul, which I hope most people listening believe in. Doctors are compartmentalized and under the pressure of being sued and losing their license and losing their income. So they're either putting you in a system or putting you over to some other specialist. But I will never understand, and you'll completely understand this in chiropractic, so I'm sure, how you can separate any element of the body from the nervous system or the circulatory system. It's all connected, and you just can't do that level of specialization. You have to treat people.
I mean, I think some doctors, I'm being hypothetical now. They almost have to compartmentalize their job. They go, this is what I do. This is my job. I have to throw out my, if you want to call it, ethical responsibility to help people, because this is my job. I have to pay the rent. I have to pay my bills, take care of my staff, make sure the people upstairs, insurance company, they're happy with me. People downstairs, they're my patients. They get better, great. If not, I still get paid.
Well, that's exactly why we've started the membership site where I teach 30 years of my knowledge, because they can't, by their very system and their professional standards and constrictions, help you truly. They can only help the system.
Or said another way, there is no the biggest enemy of whenever anyone or anything is trying to control something, the biggest enemy of the controller is individuality and creativity. And so inside that system, the doctors, the medical professionals, they're not afforded the luxury of being individually creative. If you've got a handyman trying to fix your wall that's coming down in your house, he's going to have the freedom, he or she's going to have the freedom to be creative, to fix that problem the best way it needs to be fixed. Not constricted by any laws or whatever. They're going to fix the problem using whatever they need to use to fix that problem. And medical professionals are not afforded the luxury of being individual creative people.
And I think you guys have really done a good job co-authoring the book, The Red Pill Revolution. Is this part of it, or is it more integrated in more aspects for that type of literature?
It's absolutely. I'll hand to John, but very quickly, we had so many people and clients coming to us saying, why doesn't my doctor know this? Why doesn't my doctor know this? That we decided we'd just write a book outlining the foundations of why we haven't got billions of dollars being flooded towards us to do all these shows and on TV and, all these things that we see, right? That it's rigged. It really is a very rigged business situation. And until you understand that, and it's really simple, but until you understand that, you can't move on to the next thing. Okay, how do I fix myself?
Good. John?
Oh, no, I was going to say the book, we actually started the book fourth quarter of 2019. And we all know what happened next, first quarter of 2020. And the book was actually started because, like Jeremy said, there were so many people, we all, I hate the term wake or woke. I hate that, but we all become aware. We all have an aha moment at some point in our life where we go, hey, wait a minute, that politician might be lying, or, hey, my religion might be flawed, or, hey, I used to, when you wake up and you realize something that you were told is not true.
Question. Yep.
People wake up in various places and times and in various verticals. And the book was really a very humble attempt by Jeremy, myself, and three other wonderful colleagues who contributed to that, to be like a field guide for those who have their aha wake up moments, wherever they may be, whenever they may be, because you can't just take somebody who's just been walking around a normie their entire life and all of a sudden go, hey, everything you know to be true is not true.
Wait a second.
You can't start. It's just too much. And so the book is a very gentle, humble way to go, hey, look, wherever, whenever you might have become aware or woken up, take a deep breath. It's bigger than you think, and it's all connected. It's not just the medical industrial complex that is crooked, dishonest, and profit driven. It's everything. It's big food, it's big water, it's big light, it's big religion, it's big everything. Everything has been co-opted at some corporate government level, and maybe this is where I'd like to leave it. We all know that the fast food industry does not have our best health and wellness in mind, right? Okay, it's very easy to wrap our heads around that one. Okay, I would say that the medical industrial complex is the fast food of health and wellness. Okay. I would say that, you could do it in anything. You could do it in religion. You could do it in politics. It's like the District of Columbia is the fast food of ideology,
Mm-hmm.
And so we let's get away from fast food thinking. And what's the opposite of fast food? Non-fast food. It's usually natural, real stuff, whatever that may be.
But I think the book gives people an idea of exactly, okay, this is what's wrong. Now I can actually learn how to fix it for my own personal beliefs, personal self, my personal people around me, my community per se.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we wrote that book and we've written the second one called The Red Pill Food Revolution, which I think is honestly the best book ever written on food. But I would say that, of course. But what we teach at the membership site and what I teach one-to-one in consultations is exactly why I said doctor originally means teacher. We have strayed and deliberately steered, I would argue, so far from our natural design. We are the only animal on the planet that doesn't know what naturally to eat. We're at a stage of alleged evolution that we even have to define what food is from feed. Most people are eating feed. We're now in probably the worst true pandemic, not a data-driven one, of light and EMF radiation. These things, since the amount of artificial light and lack of people being outside in the last 40 or 20, 30 years, autoimmunes have shot up like that in places like China and India, and their diet hasn't really changed. The artificial light is, most people may not know this, but light is what tells your body where you are, when to do something, how a hormone's released, and it's a constant light. The light we're under now is flickering, and our body's doing this and getting very, very stressed and very, very confused. So we have to teach people how to go back to go forward. Good.
And I mean, on top of that too, people just have I want to say been naive. They was never taught this before. So I think your books are going to allow people an idea of this is what the truth is. Now go live a healthier, long-term, mental and physical, healthier state of life. I think that's
at least we're all for choice, and that's what the medical industrial complex has wanted to take away. We at least want you to have the right to remain stupid. But when you have all the knowledge in front of you, you can go, hey, I don't want to do that. I'll go and poison myself. But at least when I get an autoimmune or diabetes or eczema or rheumatoid arthritis, whatever it is, you won't be going, I'm genetically unlucky or drew the wrong cards or it's, nonsense. Okay, everything has causes, plural. And as I said, once you have that knowledge, you have the right to remain stupid or not.
And Dr. Bree mentioned a second ago earlier too, how computers work, lights work, and TVs and everything else, even phones. Is there a way relative to the book and in addition to the book, to get the facts from, say, social media, TV, public information that way?
Well, I think social media is a double-edged sword, but I think it's about to at least move in the right direction, since the cancel culture, and I've been canceled just everywhere, seems to be coming to an end. But social media is either used for all that nonsense and all the trolls and all the AI trolls and that aren't even human. And then I've connected with so many wonderful people and so many wonderful research groups that lead you on to, real studies and real videos and other interesting people. So I think it's a double-edged tool that should be used used carefully, but it has its place. That's good. We're basically, because of the internet, you and I can meet and have this wonderful conversation, and someone somewhere, God knows where, is listening to it with hopefully great interest. So I love it. It's a double-edged sword.
That's the hope. How about you, John?
I think let's not confuse the topic of social media with the internet, because they're two very different things. Social media is by nature narcissism. I mean, you would never, ever, ever look at how many. One of my biggest pet peeves is people that take pictures of their food and put it on, on social media. Tony, if you and I lived in the same neighborhood, I would never at 10:30 at night knock on your door and you'd answer, be like, John, what are you doing? I'd be like, Tony, I just had this burger. I took a picture of it. Look.
Boom.
You'd be like, get out of here, But
who are you? I'm half asleep. Get out of my house.
Social media, by nature, it's narcissistic. It's look at me, listen to me, watch me, read me, and so no one has ever made a social media post that hasn't been narcissistic, because you want the audience to consume you. So by that nature that it's narcissistic, you have to approach it with caution. There are, to Jeremy's point, there are really beautiful things that happen as a result of social media, but you have to swim through a ocean of narcissism to find those things. And so it's like, it's like anything. You can find beauty anywhere, but I would just be cautious when you are on social media. Everyone is trying to get listened to and heard and watched, and they will dangle any carrot they have to dangle to get you to listen, watch, or read. So there is beauty there on social media, but again, it's you're swimming through an ocean of narcissism to find that beauty.
And I tell people to be selective. What are you looking for? It's like if I go shopping with my wife, right? She wants to go shopping. I want to get the one belt I need and get the heck out of the store. I want it out. So when you're selective, I'm going for this. I want to learn how to fix my microphone or something. I want to get in and out, versus I'm going to sit there for hours and hours and hours. I've even talked to a child psychologist also, and that leads to more hormonal changes, anxiety for especially in children and youth. For one, also, it's having that separation. I tell my patients that have kids, if you feel your kids on the internet at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, turn off your Wi-Fi. Then they'll go to bed. Have that control in your own personal life, but also for people, if you need to, guardians around you also.
I think this might sound a little wacky, but truth resonates. Resonation is a huge and important topic. When you hear things, read things, or watch things, you can feel it. Like Jeremy mentioned earlier in this conversation, when you walk into a room and people are arguing, you feel it. You can feel it. So I think one of the best things we can do in mass is start paying attention to that your gut, your feeling. Truth resonates, and when you come across something and if it moves you, if you feel drawn to it, follow that.
Yeah, it's almost makes you, okay, at that point you listen to your heart for one, all, especially you have enough experiences. Well, and going to another question too, why is one-on-one coaching, which I agree on, is so effective to help people when they want to change their life physically, mentally, career-wise, everything?
Yeah, well, one-to-one, consultations, and what I've done for the last 10, 12 years via Zoom and the internet, and my clients are worldwide. But there are a lot of people I found couldn't either afford to do one-to-one with me. That's why I started up the group and the membership. And I was worried that was going to turn into a mental asylum, and that I was going to unleash hundreds of people, that as you start the protocol that I've written from 30 years of experience, and I know it opens and releases. I just thought we were going to have all kinds of trauma and madness. The opposite has happened. We have had, with a few exceptions, of course, almost amazing coming together worldwide. We've got our members are international, supporting, listening, going through things, experience, people sharing stuff, and myself and Graham Norbury, a colleague who works with me, are in there as much as we can, helping a group. And then some of those will, go on to work with me one-to-one, which is really where serious cases are generally who come to me, the no-hopers or that sort of thing, or who just can't get forward with what they've been doing. So one-to-one is ideal, but that is exactly why we've been forced onto the internet and social media, because, I'm proud to be nominated for the MAHA, irrespective of your political positions. I was a number 5 top spoken about and commented doctor on there, and we've launched a mission ourselves this year to make 1 million people and then put the title after it, right? It could be asthmatics breathe again, it could be infertile women pregnant again, it could be whatever, but put it in there, because I've probably done it in my career, and that's what the membership and that's what the group is about. I want to retire because I don't need to help people, and I'm going to fail. But that's the goal, that they don't. At the end of this, at the end of my lifetime, politicians, if they still exist, should be standing up in every country and saying how few people they treated this year, and a round of applause is heard across the floor.
And that gets into the Naturally Better program for one also, which I looked at it, 9-day program. You're helping people individually, as a group. You're active with your clients for one, and patients. Yeah. What is the research behind that? I saw a lot of it, but how would you explain the research behind that?
Oh, goodness. Well, it's 33 years of research that I've tried to condense into very palatable for ordinary folk. And we've achieved that. Graham has studied Dr. Jack Kruse, you may know about extensively. And Dr. Jack Kruse is, I'll be polite, he likes the sound of his own intellectual voice, let's put it that way. But he's very complex and very intimidating. So we've been able to take that kind of work and diffuse it. Plus, I've got 30 odd years, particularly the last 20, of being hugely successful at healing and explaining the causes and the remedies for very complex cases. And so we've produced lots of vlogs where we walk in the beautiful Lake District of England. It's absolutely stunning. And we discuss these in 30-minute segments. We have live Q&As, and then we have a live forum where Graham and I are almost constantly present in between clients. It's honestly, I would say this, but we'll give you free access if you want. You can go see for yourself. It's a really, really uniquely beautiful and special thing. And the members tell us that.
Yeah, and that's, like I mentioned earlier, there's no better research than just observable real life results. And I mean, simple. I'm still to this day floored that, a lot of people suffer from headaches. Well, headaches are almost always due to dehydration. You can usually get rid of most headaches by simply hydrating yourself with water. And I, to this day, I'm blown away by how many people don't know that simple piece of information. You don't need to be have fancy letters after your name to pass on information like that. And the membership is filled with little nuggets of just real practical bits of knowledge. Everything from something like that. You have a headache, hydrate yourself, and 9 times out of 10, the headache goes away almost instantly. All the way on up to bits of knowledge that can help you with everything. Like Jeremy mentioned, infertile women who have been told they're infertile, being able to bear children again. There are answers and solutions to all of these problems, and it's not magic. It's just that a lot of this knowledge has been occulted. Occult just means to hide, and we're just trying to unhide it.
I think I'll just close here, and I'm sure you want to wrap up, but one of my favorite heart surgeons, because there's some brilliant doctors, of course, out there. And by the way, if you do have a headache, also see a good chiropractor like Dr. Tony. But anyway, there's a Dr. Ali Adir, I think his last name is Adir, Dr. Ali, I know him as, and he's lecturing, it's a 15-minute lecture on cholesterol. He's lecturing to other consultants, and he starts it, and this is like 6-7 years ago. He starts the lecture with, if you guys don't wise up quick, you're going to be out of business, because there are people out there getting information that you don't even look at, and they're getting ahead of you. And that's the citizen researchers. And I love it. And that's what we foster. We want to bring it. It's not just what does Dr. Jeremy know. We want to bring it all together, all the knowledge and wisdom in a forum, in a way. We'll do our first conference in Nashville this year in September, where we get the best of the best, and people go, oh, that's interesting. Why would you say that? Rather than, what's your credentials, or whatever criticism. We want to just build on this body of knowledge. I think we're in a health renaissance. I really do.
Good. And I think too, like, when more people ask, there's more information out there, people ask more questions, that feeds that fire of more personal knowledge, more personal health. Hydration is important. Why doesn't everyone know that? So getting people to understand that this is natural health care. It's not that hard. Why is it a 90-day program, your Naturally Better program? Why 90 days?
Well, it's this simple. In my experience, once I've explained to people what's causing their problems and the light bulbs start to go off, the aha moments, they take a little while to start, and it's usually a subtraction before you put it in. So it's what you take away usually. For example, wheat. Most people break out in a sweat just at the thought of giving up wheat. But if you just give up wheat for 1 week, just 1 week, you will feel very, very different. And so there's lots of things to start to encompass in the protocol, all simple, all beautiful. But in my experience, after 90 days, you have a much louder understanding of your body. So when you jump off the wagon, as many people do, or fall off the wagon and go and have that pizza or whatever it is, it's so horrible that you go, oh my God, it's true. In my experience, most people will feel very different positively in 90 days, but 1 year to heal from serious or chronic conditions. Of course, I've seen things quicker, but on average, 3 months, 12 months. But after that 3 months, they can't go back. They can leave, they can go and eat their pizzas or their sandwiches, but they feel so crap that why would you? Hence the right to remain stupid. And that's why it's 90 day.
Yeah. And it's just a good rule of thumb in life that if you are trying to change a habit, 90 days is a good rule of thumb. If you get, militant about it and you say, hey, for the next 90 days, I'm going to make this change. By the end of that 90 days, it's almost become a new habit now. Like you've changed it, and now it's a lifestyle. You're not having to think about doing it. You're just naturally doing it.
True.
And exactly right. I've done a lot of talks with coaches, mental coaches, health coaches. They tell me after 90 days, people see long-term physiological changing results where they go, like you had mentioned, going back feels like a poison, feels like a toxin per se.
Okay, we're not here to tell you to do anything. As my mentors taught me, we're here to teach you to think and teach you to look at things differently and then try them. And when you try them, if what we're teaching is correct, or more correct, I should say, then it will stand on its own 2 feet.
Perfect. And starting to wrap everything up too, anything I missed on the show that you wanted to talk about today?
I think we covered everything quite amazingly in such a short time, but it's been absolutely wonderful talking with you, Dr.
And starting with Dr. Jeremy, give me a good takeaway for my audience to look into your programs, look into actually getting themselves healthy outside the Western medical healthcare system. What would you say to motivate them to get to that better state of health?
Oh my goodness. How long have you got? But I think at the end of when I met my wife 15 years ago, she was diagnosed terminally ill, and she'll tell you that cancer saved her life because it forced her to start looking at her life and looking at what she needed and what was right. And I think the main thing that motivates people, other than vanity, most people come into help when they see themselves looking horrible rather than ill. And men are the worst. Men have to be in agony before they seek help. And
agreed.
But women are wonderful at seeking help. But I honestly think it has to be personal. And you can't do it for the kids. You can't do it for hubby. You can't do it for mum and dad. You've got to do it for the person in the mirror. And it's got to be that I need to change moment. And then we will teach you.
Good. And John, give me your takeaway, my friend.
My wish is that more people take control of their lives. I think so many people are hesitant to say no to things or to ask questions. This is going to sound like a pitch. It's really not. This is just sharing of knowledge. If you go to naturallybetterforyou.com, which is what Jeremy and I have set up to kind of, that's our, you can get a taste of everything there. There is a free download to this little thing right here called the Anti-Dependency Guide. And it is, I put this thing together and it is chock full of 10 aspects of life that most of us have the ability to adjust and be more in control of our health, ourself, our possessions, and our property. And it's, I hope that even the most seasoned skeptic will look through that and go, hey, I didn't know that.
Hey.
There's a lot of cool stuff in there. It's a free download. I don't even ask for your email. Just go and look at that. And we all need to be inspired in order to make any sort of changes in our lives. You need inspiration. And I hope that free guide there gives you some inspiration and also just, again, some people just need a nudge and go, hey, buddy, it's okay to say no. It's okay to question these things. It's okay. Peer pressure doesn't stop, at childhood.
No.
Peer pressure continues. In fact, I would argue peer pressure is more intense as an adult. Because just, again, go back to social media. Look at how many people robotically do things just because they feel the social peer pressure that they have to go along with whatever the thing of the moment is, and so I don't know, take control of yourself and make decisions that benefit you and your family. And it's, it's okay to be a bit selfish when it comes to your health and wellness and safety and of you and your family. So be selfish, take control. Don't let anyone tell you what to do. Truth resonates. And that little guide that I just showed you is chock full of great places to start.
And you guys did a great job. I put all links for the show in the Naturally Better program, Naturally Better inside the show notes, along with the book, along getting consultation with Dr. Ayres or Dr. Jeremy, along your social media too. I just tell people, learn something different. If you want to get healthy, if you think you're not where you want to be, you have to learn on your own. Pick up a book, go on YouTube, check out my podcast, check out your program, do what you got to do. All right. One quick smile. I know it's hard to smile sometimes. One quick smile for the thumbnail. All right. And then I'll hold off 1 second. Thanks for watching the show, guys. I'll end the show. Just stay back for 1 second.